There are moments when silence isn't absence, it's strategy. And once you understand this, you begin building a greatness no one can see until it's too late to stop it. If this idea already stirred something inside you, like and subscribe. Here, every reflection opens a door most people are afraid to face. Throughout life, we're told we need to show ourselves, prove ourselves, be seen. But the great masters of strategy knew the opposite. True power is born in silence. When you build in silence, nothing and no one can interrupt what is growing within you. And it's in this invisible territory that transformation begins. Think about the last time you shared an exciting plan with someone. Maybe it was a business idea, a fitness goal, or a creative project. What happened next? Did you feel that initial rush of excitement fade as people started offering their opinions, their doubts, their well-meaning but destructive advice? This is the first trap of visibility. When you reveal your plans, you invite interference that can derail your momentum before you've even started. There's profound wisdom in keeping your developing ideas close to your chest. When you announce your intentions to the world, you're essentially asking for permission to succeed. You're opening yourself up to the limiting beliefs of others, their fears disguised as concern, their projections of what's possible based on their own limitations. But when you work in silence, you create a protective bubble around your vision. This protective space isn't about secrecy for its own sake. It's about preserving the delicate early stages of growth. Just like a seed needs the darkness of soil to develop strong roots before breaking through to the surface. Your goals need the privacy of your own mind to solidify before they're ready to face external pressure. Consider how many revolutionary ideas throughout history were developed in quiet laboratories, private studies, and solitary workshops. The Wright brothers didn't announce their intention to fly until they had actually achieved flight. Steve Jobs famously worked on Apple products in complete secrecy, understanding that premature exposure could kill innovation. These individuals understood that the most powerful creations emerge from protected environments. When you work in silence, you also avoid what psychologists call the substitution effect. This happens when talking about your goals gives you a false sense of accomplishment, as if discussing your plans provides the same satisfaction as actually executing them. Your brain gets a hit of dopamine from sharing your vision, reducing the drive to actually make it happen. Silence keeps that energy contained and channeled toward action. But silence offers another strategic advantage. It forces you to become your own source of motivation. Most people quit because they don't receive immediate validation from others. They start a project with enthusiasm, but when the likes, comments, and encouragement don't come fast enough, they lose steam. They become dependent on external approval to continue. Those who master silence understand that discipline is worth more than recognition. They develop an internal compass that guides them through the inevitable valleys of doubt and discouragement. They learn to find satisfaction in the process itself, in the small daily improvements that no one else can see. This internal motivation system is incredibly powerful because it's completely under your control. You're not waiting for permission to continue. You're not dependent on other people's schedules, moods, or attention spans. You become self-sustaining, which is perhaps the most valuable skill you can develop in any area of life. Imagine building muscle in a gym where no one can see you. There's no one to impress, no one to compete with, no one whose opinion matters except your own. You show up consistently because the commitment is to yourself, not to an audience. The results you build in this environment are pure. They're not contaminated by ego or performance anxiety. They're authentic progress. This consistency without applause creates something remarkable: deep roots. While others are building flashy structures that look impressive on the surface but crumble under pressure, you're developing foundations that can support tremendous weight. Your progress might not look as dramatic from the outside, but it's far more sustainable. Think about the difference between a skyscraper and a giant redwood tree. The skyscraper shoots up quickly, visible to everyone, impressive in its height. But it requires constant maintenance, external support systems, and it can be brought down by the right kind of pressure. The redwood grows slowly, mostly unseen, but it develops a root system that can sustain it for thousands of years. It becomes virtually impossible to destroy. When you work in silence, you're choosing to be the redwood, not the skyscraper. You're prioritizing longevity over immediate visibility. You're building something that will still be standing long after the flashy competitions have faded away. This approach also teaches you to measure progress differently. Instead of looking for external validation, you start tracking internal metrics. How much more disciplined are you today than you were last month? How much clearer has your vision become? How much stronger is your resolve? These internal measurements are more reliable than external praise because they can't be manipulated or withdrawn by others. Silence also transforms you into a superior observer of human nature. When you speak less, you perceive more. You start seeing hidden patterns, disguised intentions, and opportunities most people overlook completely. While others are busy broadcasting their thoughts and plans, you're gathering intelligence. This observational advantage is like having a secret weapon in every interaction. You begin to notice the subtle signs that reveal what people really think, not what they say they think. You pick up on the micro-expressions that betray true emotions. You hear the words people don't say, which are often more important than the words they do. In business negotiations, this skill is invaluable. While your counterpart is talking, revealing their strategy, their pressures, their timeline, you're collecting information that gives you tremendous leverage. You learn their needs before they fully understand yours. You discover their weaknesses while your own remain hidden. In personal relationships, this observational skill helps you become a better friend, partner, and family member. You start recognizing when someone needs support before they ask for it. You notice patterns in behavior that reveal deeper issues. You become someone people trust because you understand them on a level that feels almost intuitive. But perhaps most importantly, listening more than speaking allows you to recognize opportunities that others miss entirely. While everyone else is focused on their own agenda, their own problems, their own goals, you're scanning the environment for gaps, needs, and possibilities that others overlook. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs built their fortunes by noticing what wasn't being said in meetings, what problems weren't being addressed in their industries, what needs weren't being met in their communities. They succeeded not because they were the loudest voices in the room, but because they were the most attentive listeners. This strategic listening also helps you avoid costly mistakes. You hear the warnings that others miss because they're too busy talking to pay attention. You notice the early signs of problems before they become crises. You position yourself advantageously because you have better information than your competition. The power of working in silence culminates in what might be the most satisfying moment in any journey, surprising the world with results nobody saw coming. Great achievements don't need pre-announcements. The impact lies in the unexpected reveal, when you show up not with promises but with accomplished facts. Think about the psychological impact of this approach. When someone constantly talks about what they're going to do, people become skeptical. They've heard promises before. They've seen enthusiasm fade into excuses. But when you appear with finished results, when you demonstrate capability rather than just declaring intention, you command instant respect and attention. This element of surprise also gives you a significant competitive advantage. While others are telegraphing their moves, allowing competitors to prepare countermeasures, you're operating below the radar until you're ready to strike. By the time anyone realizes what you've built, it's too late for them to catch up. Consider how many breakthrough products were launched this way. The company worked quietly for months or years, perfecting their innovation, and then suddenly appeared in the marketplace with something that changed everything. Their competitors had no time to prepare because they had no warning. This surprise factor can be worth millions in market advantage. But the surprise approach isn't just about business competition. It works in personal development too. Imagine showing up to your high school reunion having completely transformed your life, your fitness, your career, your skills, your confidence. The impact is far greater than if people had watched you struggle and improve gradually over social media. The dramatic reveal creates a story that people remember and talk about. This surprise factor also protects you from the people who might try to sabotage your progress if they knew what you were working toward. Unfortunately, not everyone wants to see others succeed. Some people feel threatened by others' growth because it highlights their own stagnation. When you work in silence, these negative forces can't interfere with your development. The mastery of strategic silence isn't about becoming antisocial or secretive about everything in your life. It's about recognizing which aspects of your growth deserve protection and privacy. It's about understanding that some conversations drain your energy while others fuel it. It's about choosing when to speak and when to simply observe and learn. This skill becomes particularly valuable in our current digital age, where everyone feels pressured to document every aspect of their lives online. The constant need to share, post, and update creates a performance anxiety that can actually hinder genuine progress. When you're worried about how your journey looks to others, you're not fully focused on the journey itself. Strategic silence allows you to escape this performance trap. You can focus entirely on the work without worrying about the optics. You can experiment, fail, adjust and improve without a public audience judging every step. This freedom to work imperfectly in private often leads to much better public results when you're finally ready to share them. The silence approach also helps you develop authentic confidence, rather than borrowed confidence. When your self-worth depends on constant external validation, it becomes fragile and unstable. But when you learn to find satisfaction in private progress, you develop an unshakable sense of self-worth that doesn't fluctuate based on other people's opinions. This authentic confidence shows in everything you do. People can sense the difference between someone who's desperate for approval and someone who's genuinely secure in their abilities. The person who has mastered strategic silence often commands more respect without saying a word than those who constantly seek attention through noise. Working in silence also teaches you patience, which might be the most undervalued skill in our instant gratification culture. When you're not getting immediate feedback and praise, you learn to trust the process even when you can't see immediate results. This patience allows you to stick with difficult projects longer, to push through the inevitable plateaus, and to maintain consistency even when progress feels slow. This patience compounds over time into something extraordinary. While others are jumping from project to project, looking for quick wins and immediate satisfaction, you're building something substantial that will deliver long-term rewards. You become like a wise investor who focuses on long-term growth rather than short-term fluctuations. The silent worker also develops better judgment about when and how to share their progress. They learn to recognize the difference between sharing for accountability versus sharing for validation. They understand which people in their lives are genuine supporters versus those who are just looking for entertainment or gossip. When they do choose to speak, their words carry more weight because they're not constantly chattering. People pay attention when the usually quiet person has something to say. Their opinions are sought after because they've established themselves as thoughtful rather than reactive. This selectivity in communication also helps them build deeper, more meaningful relationships. Instead of broadcasting to everyone, they invest in quality conversations with people who truly matter. They become the kind of person others confide in because they've proven they can keep confidence and offer thoughtful counsel. The journey of mastering strategic silence isn't always easy. There will be times when you want to share your excitement, when you crave validation, when the silence feels lonely. These moments are tests of your commitment to the process. Pushing through them builds mental strength that serves you in every area of life. You might also face pressure from others who don't understand your approach. Some people might interpret your silence as secrecy or arrogance. They might try to guilt you into sharing more than you're comfortable with. Learning to handle this social pressure without compromising your strategy is part of the mastery. Remember that every person who has achieved something remarkable has had to learn to work despite other people's opinions, expectations, and pressures. The ability to stay focused on your own path while others are trying to distract you is what separates achievers from dreamers. As you develop this skill, you'll start to notice other people who operate this way. You'll recognize the quiet confidence of those who have mastered strategic silence. You'll see how they move through the world differently, how they respond to challenges, how they handle success and failure. These observations become part of your education in this approach. You'll also start to recognize the patterns of those who haven't learned this skill. The constant need for attention, the premature sharing of plans, the dependence on external validation. You'll see how these patterns limit their effectiveness and create unnecessary drama in their lives. The mastery of strategic silence eventually becomes a form of leadership. Not the loud, attention-seeking kind of leadership, but the quiet, confident leadership that draws people naturally. Others are attracted to the calm strength of someone who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. This leadership style is particularly powerful because it's based on demonstrated competence rather than claimed authority. When you consistently deliver results without fanfare, people begin to trust your judgment and seek your guidance. You become influential not through force or manipulation, but through earned respect. As you continue to develop this skill, you'll find that it affects every aspect of your life. Your relationships become deeper because you're more present in conversations. Your work becomes more effective because you're not distracted by the need for constant approval. Your personal growth accelerates because you're not wasting energy on performance and politics. The transformation that occurs through strategic silence is profound but subtle. Like the growth of that mighty redwood, the changes happen gradually and mostly unseen, until one day you realize how much stronger, wiser, and more capable you've become. The person you were when you started this journey seems like a distant memory. This transformation isn't just about what you gain, it's also about what you lose. You lose the anxiety that comes from needing others' approval. You lose the frustration of dealing with unwanted advice and interference. You lose the exhaustion that comes from maintaining a public persona that might not match your authentic self. What emerges in place of these limitations is a centered, focused, purposeful version of yourself that can handle whatever challenges come your way. You become someone who can be trusted with important responsibilities because you've proven you can work effectively without supervision or recognition. The strategic use of silence becomes a cornerstone of wisdom that affects every decision you make. You learn when to speak up and when to hold your tongue. You understand the power of the well-timed word and the strategic pause. You recognize that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. This wisdom extends to how you handle both success and failure. When things go well, you don't feel the need to broadcast your victories to everyone. You can enjoy success privately without needing it validated by others. When things go poorly, you don't feel compelled to explain or justify your choices to people who weren't part of the decision-making process. This balanced approach to success and failure makes you more resilient and ultimately more successful. You're not riding the emotional roller coaster that comes from depending on others' reactions to determine your self-worth. You have an internal stability that allows you to make better decisions and maintain focus regardless of external circumstances. The mastery of strategic silence also teaches you to value substance over style, results over recognition, and character over charisma. These values serve you well in every aspect of life because they're based on things you can control rather than things that depend on others' opinions or society's trends. As you continue to practice this approach, you'll discover that true confidence doesn't need to announce itself. Real strength doesn't require validation from others. Genuine wisdom often speaks through actions rather than words. These realizations fundamentally change how you move through the world and how the world responds to you. The journey of mastering strategic silence is ultimately about discovering who you really are when you're not performing for an audience. It's about finding your authentic self beneath all the layers of social conditioning and external expectations. It's about learning to trust your own judgment and follow your own path, regardless of what others think you should do. This authentic self that emerges from the practice of strategic silence is incredibly powerful because it's aligned with your true values and genuine desires rather than what you think will impress others. This alignment creates a natural magnetism that draws the right opportunities and people into your life while repelling those that aren't truly compatible with your path. Greatness isn't built by shouting. It blooms in quiet, grows away from outside eyes, and reveals itself only when it's ready to transform everything around it. Comment, I choose strategic silence if you're ready to embrace this powerful approach. Like and share if this resonated with you. Because every great turning point begins where no one is looking.